by the Red Cow roundabout over the next 3 years.
So the question is stronger right and stronger left. Do you expect that, do you, from this?
I do, but I find it hard to reconcile that with the Taoiseach's alleged conversion to socialism. I don't see how the Taoiseach and Michael McDowell can coexist for very long if either of them, or presumably both of them, are telling us the truth about their convictions.
Noel Whelan.
I think it'll be harder for Michael McDowell to play a greater part in polarising politics because for the last couple of years in particular, he has been the kind of poster boy of the right and the bête noire of the left. Whether you read columns or magazines or the front covers of magazines or late-night radio programmes, no politician gets as much coverage than Michael McDowell. There are large elements of the media who are obsessed with him. It's a mutual obsession. He's obsessed with the media as well. And I don't think that will change dramatically now that he is leader of the PDs. In some respects, he has always defined for the last couple of years what the Progressive Democrats are, and now that's been realised in terms of leadership. If he wasn't there, the left in particular, I mean, for my sins, for a hobby sometimes, I read Labour Party policy documents and the speeches of Labour Party politicians, because they don't get out often enough. And the one politician who's mentioned most often in all of them is Michael McDowell. Bertie Ahern gets mentioned about 1/10 of the times Michael McDowell does by Pat Rabbitte and others. That won't change.
What does that tell you about Pat Rabbitte and others?
Well, it tells you that Michael McDowell annoys them, but it may also tell you that they're maybe focusing on the wrong enemy, because it's Bertie Ahern they're going to have to move from office rather than Michael McDowell if they want to be in government.
Sarah Carey.
Yes, is the answer to the question. I mean, everybody knows that Michael McDowell is a very talented and intelligent man. I think organisationally he's going to do very good things for the PDs. But of course, the problem is that the person who believes most in Michael McDowell's talents is Michael McDowell. And when you have somebody, you know, with these narcissistic tendencies, you give him that extra little bit of power. He's realised this ambition that he's wanted for so long to become leader of the PDs. And we're all just going to stand back now and watch for the next 8 months. Is it going to tip him over the edge, and will he provoke a row with his partners in coalition? And I heard the Minister's colleague Micheál Martin talking last week about how there are systems in place in the coalition government to prevent rows, but you just cannot allow for the personalities. And Michael McDowell is the biggest personality in the government, and it's going to be great fun, if nothing else.
Will it be fun, Dermot Ahern?
I don't think it'll be any different to what we've had for the last number of years. Michael is a very good colleague, and I'm not sure if maybe the Irish people are a bit more worried about the prospect of, perhaps, the unlikely prospect of Pat Rabbitte being Minister for Finance than Michael McDowell remaining on in government with Fianna Fáil. You know, Michael has been a very good colleague. He's been a very able minister. I can't see any
You've had your differences with him.
Yeah, we all had differences.
No, but you've had a big difference. On the heart of this question, you challenged, if I remember, his notion of equality, that point about that he made about equality.
Yeah, I did, and I made the point that, I mean, he made the point that there should be inequality in society. I disagreed with that.
No, I think he was saying inequality was inevitable in society,
that's right.
and that
that's
to
right.
be
that's right.
levelling up.
Yeah.
No, I'm not quite sure that's accurate now. What he actually said was that a measure of inequality was necessary to drive our system. And that's a different thing than saying a measure of inequality may be inevitable. And I think that's why,
you're right.
you know, my party, the Labour Party, would be fundamentally opposed to that proposition, that an element of inequality is a prerequisite to make our economic system work. But I don't believe that's the case. In fact, I believe that inclusiveness and reasonable opportunity in life is essential for our people, and more so in the future if you're to make our system work in the information age.
And I think that was the point that I was making at the time. And, you know, there's no doubt that in coalition government, where you have two parties, particularly a small party like the Progressive Democrats and a larger party, which, like Fianna Fáil, which is a broader spread of society. I mean, we do represent the broad mass, as Sean Lemass said, that we were, in effect, the Labour Party and have been the Labour Party of Ireland for many, many years. But, you know, at the end of the day, we work very well together as a government, and I expect that will continue. And I don't see any difference in direction that the government will take.
You also don't need the PDs, isn't that right? to survive. I mean, if they were to walk out, you can sail on to the next election.
Well, no, that's not the case, and we don't look at it.
No, but you wouldn't necessarily have to go to the country if they were.
Well, we don't look at it like that.
No, I'm not saying you do. I'm just making a point.
We look at it on the basis
they don't have the leverage they would have had the last time.
We look at it on the basis that we have a programme for government worked out with them, and we have achieved in any objective analysis of the programme.
But I'm making a different
point. And we're going to continue that.
Is that they have less leverage now than they had in the first coalition?
No, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case.
No,
well, I think you'll remember, John, the night of the last election results, even before the final seats were filled, Bertie Ahern came into a studio down the corridor to interview with Brian Farrell for the usual traditional election. And he surprised many people by saying, even before the final seats were in, he was going back into government with the PDs. Yeah. Now, I can see the logic of that. I mean, it would have been interesting to watch, say, the developments in terms of the health service while you had Jackie Healy-Rae or Mildred Fox or Paddy McHugh or others, being localised about what their demands were as opposed to the policy ones the PDs had. But that was a deliberate decision. What's often forgotten is Fianna Fáil increased its seats share by 4 seats in the last election, even though the PDs as well. They were less necessary. He can go ahead without them if he wants before the next election, but there are a lot of reasons why he wouldn't.
Yeah. Stephen Collins, as the historian of the PDs, what is your view of Michael McDowell's succession now, and what is the substance of the question? Will it mean more polarisation, right and left?
Well, I think it'll mean a sharper edge to politics. Michael McDowell has a sharp edge. I think there's too much made of the left-right divisions. Michael McDowell believes in social justice as well. He said in his speech today, his first press conference, that he has a vision of social justice as well, except he believes in the enterprise economy. I don't think there are the divisions are that dramatic. For instance, the Labour Party and Fine Gael are committed to low taxation in the next election as well. They're saying they're not going to increase personal taxes, corporate taxes, any more than the PDs are.
Converts. I mean, Pat came out and said that he was going to bring in a wealth tax, and
but I think Michael McDowell...
Fine Gael were going to bring in
but I think Michael McDowell is
a new tax rate.
No, he's a politician who's quite sharp in his message. He will certainly stand up and fight the opposition. In terms of internally in coalition, I think he was a good colleague for Fianna Fáil. People predicted when he became minister first that he would break up the coalition, that he couldn't survive in coalition. In fact, he has been a very loyal member of the coalition government. So I don't think there is a prospect of the government falling apart because Michael McDowell is now the leader.
Emer Liston asked this question.
I just wanted to establish whether or not the panel believed...
Now, give us your own opinion now on the merits of your question. Yeah.
I believe it will stimulate the left a bit further, yeah, and we'll see a stronger emergence of the left. But I wanted to see what the panel thought.
Yeah. Woman, I'm just beside you there, yes?
Yes, if Mr. Rabbit said there that will there be any change in either the health or the guards or that, if you were in power, would there be any change?
Yeah,
yes,
come back to you on that
there most emphatically would.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you where.
I'll give you a chance to do that later. I just want to stay with the audience for the moment. Yeah. Second row, yeah.
I think the real fair question to ask, will polarisation lessen? And I think it's blatantly obvious under the PDs that's not just going to happen. We live in a society that has the lowest spending in Western Europe on mental health services. We've got a homeless problem that's due to be finished by 2010. There's no sign of that happening. And we still live in a country where there's primary schools that are designated disadvantaged. It's obviously not at the heart of PD policy to sort that out. And they're the guys that have ran economic policy for the Fianna Fáil-led government.
Come back to you, Minister, in a minute. The woman in the second row there, yes. I want to stay in the audience a moment.
As Minister for Justice, I would say Mr. McDowell is a total failure because there is no such thing as justice in this country. He at one stage said on TV that he would sack any Garda that refused to enforce the law. They do it all the time where I live. And that's why we have this problem of what they call antisocial behaviour, but which is really simple harassment and intimidation. And I mean, at one stage he was given out about harassment and intimidation in Belfast in the McCartney case. It's going on in Ireland all over the place. People are living with it every day of the week in the States here. The police refuse to act. They're friendly with the perpetrators and they come and threaten the victim. And he does absolutely nothing about it and doesn't want to know. Nobody does.
Front row here, yes.
Hi. I just wanted to ask Mr. Rabbit, because he seems to be a great friend of women who have gone through violence. And I myself actually contacted Mr. Rabbit on this whole issue. And I'm saying in the next government, if you actually succeed, will you actually keep to your promises and provide more accommodation for women fleeing? You know, not just council housing, but actual housing, so women don't have to stay in refuge just 7, 8 and 9 months.
Well, to take them in order, between 87 and 89, Fianna Fáil and the PDs took 3,000 beds out of the hospital system. Since then, we have more than 500,000 additional people. People are living longer. Technology is developing. And yet the official position is that no beds are required. Now, there is no way that we can deal with the situation in accident and emergency without putting beds into the community, without arranging to transfer patients who are inappropriately occupying acute hospital beds into step-down care. There must be an increase in provision of bed capacity. Secondly, issues like people's right to clean hospitals must just be enforced and driven by the minister. That's not happening. In the area that you raise about crime, detection rates are falling. That's a simple fact. The extent of gangland crime is worsening. Drug abuse and drug misuse and crime deriving from drug abuse is worsening. The situation on Garda reform is not happening. The 2,000 additional Gardaí promised are not there. There are not enough Gardaí visibly patrolling our communities. Gardaí are not resourced in offices with the modern technology. Do you know, for example, that most Garda stations don't have email? The 565 Gardaí that it was supposed that the government committed to taking out from behind their desks, civilianising their jobs and putting them out in the community fighting crime, not one single one of the 565 has been done. So you're either serious about those things or you're not. And the issue, which I have been concerned with about the provision of refuge places and so on, the question of domestic violence and violence against women is a serious issue in this society. It raises, however, the question of the provision of housing. And whereas we are turning out more houses than ever we did in the history of the state, we are turning out proportionately fewer social housing. Right. And we are transferring our social housing need into the private rented sector. We are doing it by way of, for example, the housing rental supplement. And if you as a woman are in receipt of the housing rental supplement, you may not go back to work or you will lose it. So you are a prisoner in the house. It's the new poverty trap.
We've
you are confined to the house as a result of it.
Contributor, third row there, yes.
John, I think McDowell's elevation, not just to the leadership of the PDs, but he's also now our new Taoiseach. And it's a symbol of the way our country has gone from the island of 1,000 welcomes to the island where 1,000 terms and conditions now apply. And the problem with that is all of these terms and conditions, they favour one class over another. And he is now representing, and unfortunately we have a socialist and a regulator, a prime regulator, representing a very divided country. So, I mean, how can this coalition just continue?
Minister.
Well, just to answer the question, and Pat has got a good run at it in relation to all the ills in society, and of course there are ills in society, but I mean, people tend to forget that when this government came to office, the level of people in employment was about 1.1 million. Today it's over 2 million. I mean, that speaks for something in relation to social justice, in that it gives people an opportunity to go out and earn a living. When Pat, and I think in the election people will have to look at the record of the respective parties. When Pat's party were in government, Fine Gael, there was endemic unemployment. People were emigrating. Even though they claimed that they started the boom, in the last budget before they went out of office in 1997, Pat's party, Rory Quinn, was the Minister for Finance. He gave the lowest increase to social welfare recipients of £1.80 in relation to child benefit. They gave £1 extra per month to the mothers of this country. That's so-called socialists. In the government that I was a member and Michael Madole was a member, we gave to old age pensioners £10 per year over a number of years extra in their social welfare payments, and we gave on 2 occasions an extra increase of €32 to the mothers of this country in relation to child benefit. That's our record.
And
Now,
if that is your record, why are you not doing better in the polls?
We are. We're doing reasonably well in the polls for a government that's been in office.
Are you comfortable?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And
you won't be returned on these figures. You'll need to improve.
May I just correct the historical record? I mean, you have seriously misrepresented it.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, you've seriously.
I'll come back to you, Pat.
In relation to all the ills of the health service, the fact of the matter is, because of the extra economic generation, we have been able to put extra money into the services, to bring it forward, extra services in our hospitals. Yes, of course, there's a problem in accident and emergency, and we put in the reform structures because the government put in the money at the start in order to try and redress some of the ills, not just when my party were in government in difficult times, but when your party were in government with others. Well, you weren't actually in the government at that stage. But the fact of the matter is now, because of the reforms that we put into the health service, you are now seeing fairly dramatic changes in relation to issues of waiting lists and the accident emergency. It will take time. But again, I say that this government has a proven credible record in relation to dealing with issues, whether it's issues like car insurance, something which was a huge problem for the people of this country a number of years ago. Everyone's car insurance has come dramatically down because of the policies of this government. When you look at a whole lot of other issues, you will see the infrastructure deficit of this country. We've been able to get the investment into those because of the economic policies that we brought forward, not the economic policy. No, I just want to make a point.
You can't have the whole. Hold on a second. I know you're accustomed now to asserting control of the panel. I want to reply to the point.
Sorry,
the chairman has asked me to reply. The chairman has asked me to reply. Now, I want to give you these few facts because you've seriously misrepresented the situation. In 1997, when we left office, we were creating 55,000 jobs per year, more than 1,000 jobs per week.
Is it a fact?
Hold on a minute.
Fact growth, you gave £1.80 to the old age pensioners? Is it a fact?
You just hold on. I'll deal with it. Growth was higher under Ruairi Quinn than it was on average under McCreevy. Inflation was about 1%.
What did you do
it's
with
now
the money?
running. Hold on, it's running at 2.5 times now. Inflation is now running at 2.5 times the European average. And when you say that you give X and Y payments to social welfare recipients, ask anybody about prices in the society that we're living in. Ask anybody about, for example, just the last couple of days alone, 20% approximately increase in ASB,
Pat,
more than that in gas charges.
And it's putting in a regulator. Your party supported that.
It's a complete untruth, Dermot.
Did you or not? Did you or did you not support a regulator?
It is a complete untruth
in the Oireachtas
to say that in the matter of child benefit, the reason that Ruairi Quinn tapered that particular budget in terms of social welfare recipients was because he put the money into child benefit and created and originated the National Anti-Poverty Strategy. Now, you just look at the quantum of resources that we have produced in more than the last dozen years. In more than the last dozen years,
when he had the resources,
the quantum of resources that